"You don't own this gate." That's the phrase, the exact cold, patronizing line that started everything, shot across my driveway like a laser beam, pointed right at the old, beautiful wrought iron my grandfather, Pops, had literally forged with his own hand way back in 1963. Her name was Vivian Sterling, and her voice, I swear, it was just pure entitlement, sharp enough to cut glass, absolutely sure of her absolute rightness. She had the documents, the attorney, the backing of the entire glossy Willow Creek Estates Homeowners Association. But the one thing she crucially lacked, the thing that would ultimately bring her entire empire crumbling down, was the simple, inconvenient historical truth. I was standing there, early morning, watching the fog burn off the sycamore trees, my coffee going instantly cold in my hand, observing this woman try to lay claim to 5 acres that had belonged to my bloodline for over half a century. And in that frozen, tense moment, I realized this wasn't going to be settled with a polite reply or a certified letter. This was going to be a war. A quiet, legal war for history, for legacy, and for every quiet lesson Pops ever tried to teach me about standing your ground. To truly understand the pure, unadulterated hubris of the HOA in this situation, you need to know about the land, the ridge, and the man who owned it before me. Pops, Arthur Hayes, he bought it in 1963. Back then, this whole valley was nothing. Just dusty dirt roads, scrub oak, and silence. He used 2 decades of savings from being a master welder, paid for it cash, every single penny. No bank, no debt, no lien, no strings. He built the modest cedar house himself, planted a perimeter of towering sycamore and oak trees, his natural fence, and he forged that iron gate from scrap metal he'd diligently collected over years. That gate is still standing, rusted beautifully at the hinges where the paint is thin, but structurally solid as the day he set it. The lock is a heavy, hand-cast brass tumbler, and it still turns smooth as glass when you know exactly how to work the key. I was maybe 8 when Pops first walked me around the full 5 acres, pointing out every granite property marker he'd personally hammered into the earth. Boundaries aren't there to keep people out, Ethan, he'd tell me, his big, calloused hand resting heavily on my shoulder. They're reminders of what you protect, and a declaration of your right to rest. That same day, he laid out the original deed, the surveyor's report from '63, and a notarized purchase agreement right across our worn kitchen table. He was solemn, serious. "Paper matters, son," he said, his voice quiet. "When some fast-talking developer or some greedy person tries to take what's yours, this right here, this is what saves you." From that day, I understood the almost religious significance he placed on meticulous, clean records. I inherited the property in 2018 after Pops passed. His will was clear. I didn't sell it. I moved my photography equipment in, converting the back sunroom into my studio. The title transfer was clean, the taxes paid, everything registered. And that's when I made my own crucial discovery. While pulling the historical records, I found the official plat map detailing the Willow Creek Estates HOA boundaries, established in 2005. This was the developer who built the surrounding suburban sprawl. All beige siding, 0 character. The map was irrefutable. Their legal jurisdiction stopped 50 yards before my gate. My land predated their entire existence by 42 years. It was never included. It never would be. I spent the first weeks restoring the gate, brushing on the same flat black Pops had chosen. The ancient oak trees framed the morning light. I traced over the faded letters on the sign, "Private Property, ST 1963, until every stroke was sharp again. The brass lock, after I oiled it, turned just as Pops had intended. Standing there with my morning coffee became my quiet ritual. The air smelled like earth and old metal. I just stand and think about those simple rules. Keep your papers clean. Know your boundaries. Simple rules that only become complicated when someone entitled decides they don't apply to them. I should have known the quiet wouldn't last. Granddad always said some people confuse silence for weakness, and they mistake watching something with controlling it. The first time they showed up, I was pruning near the eastern line. A sleek black hybrid slowed outside the gate. 3 people, 2 in matching HOA polos, 1 in that damn blazer. all looking like they'd stepped straight out of corporate meeting. Vivian Sterling, the blazer, had her phone out instantly, snapping invasive photos of my house, my studio windows, my trees. She was documenting my life like I was a violation waiting for a fine. She rattled the gate, found it locked, and then pressed the doorbell, holding it down in an aggressive, sustained burst that echoed through the quiet yard. I watched for a full 30 seconds, letting them wait, letting them understand they were not welcome guests. I walked out slowly, deliberately, stopping at the gate. The iron bars felt like the perfect symbol of the boundary they were ignoring. "Can I help you?" I kept my voice low, polite but firm. Vivian straightened, adjusting her clipboard. "I'm Vivian Sterling, HOA president. We need to inspect your property." She used that word, need, like my right to privacy was irrelevant. "Inspect it for what?" She rattled off the list, rehearsed and patronizing. "Your trees exceed the permitted boundary. Your gate is non-compliant with community aesthetic standards. And you are delinquent on 3 years of HOA dues." I let the silence hang, watching her smug certainty solidify. "I don't belong to the HOA, I stated." She laughed, a short, brittle sound. "Every property here belongs to us, Mr. Hayes. Check your deed." "I checked the county records, Ms. Sterling." I shot back, the politeness finally cracking. "The HOA boundary stops 50 yards before this gate. My land was registered in 1963. Your organization formed in 2005. Your authority ends where my grandfather's began." One of the polo shirts actually shifted, looking nervously at Vivian, who didn't blink. "We'll verify that, but in the meantime, comply with this notice." She aggressively jammed the violation notice through the bars. A demand for $4,200, a new beige gate, and daily fines. I took the paper, folded it, and slipped it into my back pocket. "I won't be doing any of this," I told her. Vivian's face went cold, the forced smile vanishing. "You will regret that decision. We have legal counsel." "So do I," I replied, and simply turned and walked away. I didn't wait for the sound of their retreat. I just walked, letting their notice burn in my pocket. That evening, I found boot prints near the hedge. When I checked my cameras, 15 minutes of footage from the previous week were gone. They weren't just random busybodies. They were strategizing. I immediately installed a separate, completely offline camera system, recording locally, hidden deep within the foliage, covering the gate perfectly. Then I built my file. I photographed the boot prints, documented the security failure, and filed the HOA notice with Pop's original deed, the 1963 surveyor's map, and the 2005 plat map showing the non-intersection. Paper matters. I was done being polite. I was ready to be forensic. When the HOA called the special meeting demanding I explain myself, I knew it was time to deploy the first wave. I walked into the tribunal room, sat down, and listened to Vivian give her speech. When she finished, I pulled out the certified county plat map and laid it flat. "This is the registered boundary from 2005, I said. "This is my 1963 boundary. They do not intersect." I immediately backed it up with a certified letter from the county land office, confirming the documents were current and authentic and that my property was explicitly excluded. The room went silent, save for the hum of the fluorescent lights. Vivian's attorney looked utterly defeated, but Vivian herself, she wouldn't quit. She pivoted, her voice shrill. "Regardless, you still have to maintain aesthetic standards. Your gate is an eyesore." I stood up, closing the folder. "I don't belong to your HOA," I stated one last time, my voice gaining volume. "You have no authority here. If you continue this harassment, I will file criminal charges." I walked out, leaving the pile of irrefutable paper behind me. They chose the path of crime. First, the vandalism. Red spray, paint across the iron. Pay up or leave. My hidden camera caught the hooded figure. I saved the footage, but left the paint as a challenge. Next, the shocking escalation. A letter with a forged county seal, threatening a forced gate removal due to building code violations. The details were off, the signature was sloppy. I called the planning department. The woman on the phone was aghast. "That is a forgery of government documents, Mr. Hayes," she told me. "That's a felony. You need to call the police." I told her I would, but I needed one more mistake from them. Something decisive. It happened at 1:30 in the morning. The camera caught the black SUV, tape covering the plates, pulling up. Two figures emerged, one with the bolt cutters. The other, rigid and unmistakable even in the dark, was Vivian Sterling. The sound of the cutters shearing through Pop's brass lock was horrifying, final. They pushed the gate open and stepped on my land. Vivian immediately began documenting the violation. That's when I hit the floodlights. The entire yard exploded in blinding white. They froze. I screamed that the police were en route. Vivian spun, frantic, stumbled hard on the gravel, and something flew off her neck. They roared away, leaving the gate swinging and the severed lock on the ground. I walked out, phone recording, and found the dropped item, a distinctive, expensive pearl necklace with an engraved clasp. V.S. HOA President. The evidence was now physical, undeniable, and deeply personal. The police arrived, impressed by the video and the physical evidence. Trespassing, property damage, and attempted burglary, with the forgery charge being handled separately. With my attorney, Rachel, and the testimony of a key HOA accountant who confirmed Vivian's malicious intent, we filed the lawsuit. The total damages requested were significant. $75,000 to cover repairs, emotional distress, and legal fees. 3 days before the hearing, their attorney offered a settlement, $5,000, and an apology. I didn't hesitate. No, I told Rachel. I don't want their money. I want them to admit what they did in front of judge. The courtroom was quiet. When the judge saw the certified, notarized 1963 deed side by side with the 2005 HOA plat map, she cut straight to the core. The HOA has no jurisdiction over the plaintiff's property. Proceed to the alleged violations. Rachel displayed the video footage, the vandalism, the cutting of the lock, Vivian's face caught in the floodlights. She presented the pearl necklace. The defense attorney was left stammering, trying to call the break-in an inspection. The judge was icy. Counsel, that is video evidence of your client cutting a lock and entering private property at 1:30 in the morning. That's breaking and entering. Rachel presented the final piece, the forged letter and the county's statement disavowing it. Forgery of government documents is a felony, Your Honor. The judge took 15 minutes to deliberate. When she returned, her voice carried the full, severe weight of the law. I find the defendants guilty on all 4 charges. Vivian Sterling was ordered to pay the full $75,000 in damages, resign immediately, and was barred from any HOA leadership role for a decade. The forgery charge was sent to the district attorney. The gavel came down, and I felt a wave of profound, weary relief wash over me. 3 days later, Vivian was arrested for felony forgery. The HOA board collapsed, replaced by the accountant who testified. The new president immediately refunded $23,000 in unfair fines to other homeowners. The community, built on trust, was exposed as being built on toxic authority. I used the $75,000 to restore Pop's legacy. I commissioned a new, custom-cast brass lock, a replica of the original, fitted perfectly. I repainted the gate. I strengthened my defenses. The land looked exactly as it had before this started, which was the entire quiet point. Standing at the gate a year later, the new lock turning smooth in my hand, I watched a neighbor kid pause, looking at the old iron. "Why don't you get a new one?" he asked. "Because this one has a story," I told him, tracing the letters EST 1963. "It reminds me that some things can't be bought. They have to be kept." My victory wasn't about the money or the revenge. It was about proving that legal truth, backed by documentation, is always stronger than unchecked authority. But here's the kicker. I still have neighbors who believe I should have just compromised to maintain community harmony, arguing I needlessly destroyed their property values through a public scandal. So I have to ask you, did I go too far by forcing criminal charges and a full public trial, or was this the only acceptable way to defend my property and my grandfather's legacy? Drop a comment below and let me know your thoughts. Did I do exactly what was needed, Or did the pursuit of justice cost the community too much? Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories of standing your ground.